Elena, what else did Wang Yi say?
Heidi, that's right. This is part of Foreign Minister Wang Yi's annual briefing, and he warned that some in America were pushing relations between the U.S. and China towards, quote, a new Cold War. And this is as relations between the two countries reached new lows with differences widening over trade, technology, financial flows, and human rights and more. So take a listen here to what he had to say.
China has no intention to change the U.S. or replace the position of the U.S. While it is impossible for the U.S. to change China at its own wishful thinking, the U.S. is also not able to stop the historical process of the 1.4 billion Chinese people toward modernization. Now we must be vigilant against the fact that some U.S. political forces are hijacking the bilateral relations in an attempt to push the relations to the so-called new Cold War.
That downward spiral, of course, now being exacerbated by China's introduction of the Hong Kong national security law that would criminalize the harshest criticism of China in the ruling party. We also heard Wang Yi caution the U.S. not to challenge China's red line on Taiwan, which Beijing considers to be a province of China. And this is after Secretary of State Mike Pompeo broke tradition last week and congratulated Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen on her second inauguration. The foreign minister saying reunification between the two sides of the strait is, quote, an inevitable trend of history. No one and no force can stop it.
Selena, I mean, suffice to say, by the day, the relations and the tensions between the two here seem to be ratcheting up on many fronts, really, trade just being one of them as well. Talk to us about the new and any, I guess, incremental implications on globalization at this point.
Yeah, David, the one ray of hope here really was the Phase 1 trade deal, which China said on Friday during the National People's Congress that it would uphold its commitment to implementing that deal. But within hours, White House economic aide Kevin Hassett told CNN that the U.S. is studying the economic penalties it could place on China related to this Hong Kong national security legislation. And this coming after the Senate has approved legislation that could lead to Chinese companies being barred from trading on U.S. stock exchanges. So when it comes to globalization implications for investors, our Bloomberg Economics says that with the global economy already in this historic slump and growing fears of a slide back into a U.S.-China trade war, the echoes of the Great Depression are getting harder to ignore, and that these fresh barriers to trade and capital flows will make a bounce back from the lockdown even harder. And meanwhile, you have Carmen Reinhart, the World Bank's incoming chief economist, just declaring that globalization is probably dead, with the flaring trade tensions between the U.S. and China most definitely supporting that theory.